Right now, though, we're going to talk about the reason that we're here. ESB Networks this morning at 11 o'clock is launching its Dingle project, which will be helping chart Ireland's low-carbon future, but developing West Kerry as a pilot project for the delivery of smart electricity. With me in our outside broadcast unit at the Skellig Hotel in Dingle, we've got Marguerite, who is the Managing Director of ESB Networks, and we also have Deirdre Bhailis from the Dingle Hub. Good morning to both of you.
Morning, Jerry.
Marguerite, I'll start with you. Just outline what exactly will be happening in West Kerry and in Dingle over the next couple of years.
Okay, so last year, Jerry, we launched an innovation strategy, which really was to reflect the fact that our relationship with energy is changing hugely. So we have 53 projects in our innovation strategy, and we launched that last September. We want to take it away from just being theoretic and actually apply it practically. And those projects cover areas like improving the resilience of our network so that people would see less outages and they'd see them for not as long, or less people would be affected. The second area we want to look at is giving people more control over their energy use, more information. And the third area is, as you mentioned, about transitioning Ireland to a low carbon economy. So we want to make sure that in ESB Networks that we facilitate people in connecting up electric vehicles and electric heating as well. And our feedback on those is really positive from people who have made that change already. And I think the technology is maturing and it's getting an awful lot easier now for people to adopt those changes.
Why was Dingle picked? Why was it the place? Is it a combination of factors to do with the weather, the number of customers you have, the rural location, or what was it?
That's it. You have ticked about 3 of the 4 boxes. So there's a number of reasons, and I suppose the exposed nature of Dingle from a weather perspective is one. Secondly, because it's quite a narrow peninsula, we don't have a huge amount of opportunity to provide alternate supplies because we don't have big high voltage lines coming into the peninsula. So if we can get something to work in Dingle, it will have applications elsewhere. And what we really want to do is for I suppose, Dingle to see that benefit first.
Okay, how long will the project run for? And then when will you be rolling out the applications across the rest of the country?
Well, for the next kind of 18 months to 2.5 years is the time period that we have when most of the activity will be happening. People may not see anything much over the next couple of weeks and months, but over time then we will have more and more being delivered. And obviously today is the kick-off of that. One of the things that we've noticed actually is, since we've mentioned doing this, the appetite for other companies to partner with us is massive. Like, there's a huge appetite out there for this. So I think people will see other companies looking to come on the back of this, not necessarily in partnership with us ourselves. Some of them will be, some of them won't be, but I think actually there could be huge benefits for Dingle out of this. But one really important thing maybe to say is that there won't be an onus on anybody. If people are listening to this and they think they're going to have to do something or we're going to impose something on them, we're not. So really what we want to do is give people options. We'll be looking for volunteers, but we won't be doing anything without somebody's consent or knowledge.
A little bit of resistance from, we did an interview last week in the programme from a group that are concerned about the safety around smart metering. Now, smart metering is something that's going to be rolled out across the country as part of I think a lot of countries are engaging in it now. But you're saying this, if you don't want it, it won't be happening in your home.
Well, no, it won't. Now, it wasn't something we envisaged doing as part of this on a wide-scale basis anyway, but just to give people some comfort, maybe two types of comfort. Number one, even if you don't want to take my word for it, it's actually written into European directives that you have to opt in if you want smart services. So you have to say, actually, I want that. So if you say no, you can opt out. The second thing is, and I know I've picked up a Cork accent along my way, but I'm actually reasonably local to here. My parents still live on the peninsula. I have a niece here in Dingle and Clough. So if I had any concerns about the technology, obviously I wouldn't be encouraging these trials to happen where they are happening. So
sure.
So there are 2 pieces of comfort, I suppose, I can give people, hopefully.
Okay, Deirdre, talk to me about the opportunities, and Marguerite talked there about maybe linking up with businesses. Your plan is to create 100 jobs in 5 years to try and get people in Dingle to be able to live and work here no matter what sort of technology they need for their job. This is a big opportunity?
Absolutely, Jerry. It's the reason that the Dingle Creativity and Innovation Hub was brought into being. We foresaw a need to provide a platform for people to come together in a shared workspace to give them that the technological opportunity to work here. We very much welcome ESB Networks project because it's such an innovative project. It really fits with where we want to be. We feel that a project like this will attract both national and international attention, and it will put the Dingle Peninsula, it will be seen as leaders for change in this area. As Marguerite said, it is very good for the marketing of the peninsula. It's an extra string to the bow for Dingle, and it's where we want to be.
Do you think you're getting closer to that stage, and maybe the rest of Kerry and rural Ireland are trying to get to it as well, of somebody deciding, look, I don't have to be in Cork or Dublin or necessarily London for my job. I can work from home. The bigger companies now are providing that for their employees, but I can work from here. Right, if I have to go to London once a month or once a week, I can do that from here. But I can video conference, and I can, whatever I need in broadband and whatever I need in power, it'll be here for me to do it.
Absolutely, Jerry. I'm seeing that happening in front of my eyes at the moment in the hub, with the range of different people working in there from all sorts of areas. You have people who work for larger companies who are happy to let them work remotely, but you have people starting up their own businesses too. And I suppose with a project like the ESB Networks project and the transition to the low carbon future, we see the need for new types of jobs and skilling in different areas. And I suppose we'll be trying to take a holistic approach in engaging the education bodies as well to provide that upskilling. So a lot of changes to come in the future.
Yeah, certainly will. You'll obviously be working very closely over the next 18 months with the ESB on this.
We will, and they'll be based, they'll have an office in the hub, and there will be a channel of communication between that project, and there's another larger project as well, taking a look at transitioning Dingle 2030, and that might take a look at transport issues, farming. It will take a look at tourism, sustainable tourism. So the electricity side of it is one portion of that whole project.
That on side of it, you mentioned transport there, getting to and from where you need to be. Electric cars coming in, power points obviously in people's homes will be part of the project. In a way, I suppose it's part of the battle for industry or government to convince people, yes, you can live somewhere like Dingle and have an electric car.
Absolutely, but this project is going to contribute significantly to that too, because a large part of this project is putting electric vehicle chargers into premises. We foresee perhaps something in the future, like it may start with tourists, with a go-kart type service from Killarney or Tralee. I don't envisage everyone in the peninsula running out and buying an electric car in
tomorrow.
The morning. Yeah. But we need to test this, and that's part of what this project is all about. So you could see a situation in the future where you have an electric vehicle in your drive, where your drive is not in use for the day. Perhaps you're Airbnb-ing out your electric vehicle charger. You're facilitating people to use these services.
Yeah, that's a practical idea, an application of the way it could go. Speaking about that, Marguerite, that whole idea of transitioning people across, and you're testing now for the next 18 months for the roll-up, but even really in the last 3 or 4 months, the diesel sales have dropped by 20%. Toyota announced 6 months ago that they're not going to be making any more diesel vehicles at the end of this year. So even though it's a plan, you need to be doing it now, because the market and people are starting to move on. That's just in the area of electric vehicles, and there's a question mark now being asked of the government saying, well, how many ports do we have? How many will we need next year? How many will we need in 2 years' time? How fast are you ready for, I suppose, the future?
Yes, so I suppose there's two sides to that. One is the public charging infrastructure, and we rolled out the initial public charging infrastructure with the help of the energy regulator, and that happened about, ironically, just as the economy took a dip, and at the time then a lot of people weren't buying EVs, and all of a sudden we're seeing a big interest again now, because I think outside from anything else, battery technology has improved, and the range that people can drive now is up to 150 kilometres. I think if we get to 300, 350, then you can virtually go anywhere you want in the country on one charge. So at the moment we have about 2,500 chargers. About half of those are in kind of hotels, etc., around the country. The others are on street. The regulator is taking a view that actually, which is fair enough, that the electricity industry has done enough, and that really it needs to be government and transport and private industry that picks up the charge infrastructure from here now. So there's another part of ESB that's looking at that as well, but so are other companies. So what we've put out there, we're certainly going to try and mind, but the energy regulator does not envisage having any more electricity customers' money spent on it that really come from the transport sector. So we're hoping that somebody else kind of fills in that void now, because we do think it's going to be important. So like I said, with that change in battery technology, I think very, very quickly now we're going to see a lot of people beginning to change, either via hybrids or just going direct to electric.
Sure, okay. Just on the testing of the area for geographical reasons and the strength of the network in the face of weather changes, I remember when I was younger, 4 or 5 times a year, regular as clockwork, the power would go for 3 or 4 days. I know a lot of money's been put in over the last 20 years, 30 years into the network, but the last 4 or 5 years we've seen much more severe weather events. Here in West Kerry, unique challenges. The salt water content of the air has an effect, I understand. You'll be testing all of that as well to try and stop or reduce the outages or see how resilient the new network will be.
Yeah, we'll be doing a mix of things. Some of them are quite high tech, so giving kind of better diagnostic tools to our network technicians so they can find faults faster, and that self-healing network that I mentioned earlier on, or reclosing. The other thing might actually be what people might consider quite low tech, but actually using wider cross arms, bigger insulators, different conductors. We're also looking at using more environmentally friendly poles in future as well that are kind of a carbon fibre mix. So if we do a combination of those things, we want to see what combination of all of those things together works best, and we think that we should be able to bring some real benefit. Unfortunately, just in case there's a fault next Saturday, it's not going to
be fixed overnight.
It's not going to be immediate, but we do think that there will be improvements.
You're not going to be in a situation where you won't have to send a crew out in the middle of the night, though. That's not where you're. Well, hopefully, the less crews, the better, or the less power outages, the better. But that's
yeah,
you're still going to need teams on the ground.
We are, and what we're concentrating on is just reducing the impact quickly, so the least number of people affected for the shortest duration possible, and we'll use technology to do that. But we'll eventually, we still need humans to go out and fix faults. So we've got a great crew that are on call. We've always got someone on call 365 days a year, so the crews do come out, as you know, in all weathers. And the climate change issue is really serious for us as well, because even in the last 6 months we've had 3 what would be considered maybe once in 50-year events, between Storm Eleanor, which is probably the least serious after Christmas, but also Storm Ophelia and Storm Emma recently. So we're definitely see something funny happening with the climate.
Yeah, have to keep an eye on that. Deirdre, final question for you. In 18 months' time, 2 years' time, do you hope to be in a much better place to advertise Dingle as a place to come and do business? And maybe if, let's say, the requirements of the network, a big company was to locate here, that they would be confident that they could manage their energy costs and also have a secure supply on that side of it.
Absolutely, you can see that, Jerry. If the outcomes of this project come to fruition the way we see them, you could see people having a confidence to move here. Power outages, if that was a concern for companies coming in the area, we would have answers to deal with that going forward into the future, and you could see it being an attractive place to work for many reasons.
Okay, keep your views and comments coming into us on that. If you have any views and comments for us in relation to this project or where things go in the future. I wanted to ask you one other thing, Marguerite. For someone who wants to opt into this, for someone who, what's their house going to look like in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time, maybe different from the way it is now? Their heating, their electricity, maybe the visibility they have on what they're using day to day, hour to hour.
So on the heating front, and there's some people, I'm in a small estate in Dublin, there's only 20 houses, but 6 of them have air source heat pumps because they were the last houses built and the developer decided to go that way. So I think that's a really exciting technology because the level of comfort they have in their homes without ever adjusting anything, even in the middle of the snow, is fantastic. So, and they're also finding it quite economic. So they have eliminated kind of gas and oil heating locally. The other thing is you could potentially, in most new houses being built, have something like solar PV, solar panels on the roof, so you could be providing your own electricity. Over time, people might want to actually trade that with their neighbours who don't have those solar panels. Your EV would be charging outside. If you have storage when it's a sunny day or during the day, you can store up extra energy and you can use it at night, so you'd be losing, using even less coming in from the mains. So what we want to do, I suppose, is to test all of that, because it does actually put additional pressure on the network. Like, most of our network was built in the 40s, the 50s and the 60s, so we need to find how we can best adopt new technologies now to minimise the amount of money we'll have to spend, because that will ultimately go back to customers in order to facilitate all these new uses. But there's certainly plenty of technology out there that will give people lots of information.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, look, I want to thank both of you for talking to us this morning in relation to the Dingle project here from the ESB Networks. Marguerite Sayers, Managing Director of ESB Networks, thank you, and Deirdre de Bhailis of the Dingle Hub, the Dingle Creativity and Innovation Hub.